Hello, it's Kevin here. It's been a long time that I've made a video for IELTS 9 Pro. However, I'm back now and we'll see what we can do. So, I sent you a topic a few days back, as I said, the first 5 essays. One about taking risks from Cambridge 17, test 1, I think. Now, I wrote a sample essay first, so we'll just have a quick look at that, and this will be available later on the site, just to give you some ideas. Okay, then we'll take a look at yours. I might not correct every single word, comma, article, preposition, etc., because I don't have time. I've got 15 minutes spare between my classes on italki, so I'll have to be brief. So, important for people to take risks, to the advantages outweigh with this. Advantages, so, let me paraphrase first. It could be argued that taking risks in work and private life is important. Now, I'll highlight that because some of you have used a synonym for important and it doesn't quite mean the same thing. So you paraphrase first, okay, sentence 1. It could be argued that taking risks, okay. Sentence 2, answer a question. In my view, despite the possibility of disappointment, some measure of a risk is beneficial due to the potential for personal growth. Okay. It's a truism that many workers are deeply dissatisfied with their jobs. However, due to economic uncertainty, they dare not take the risk of quitting and looking for something better. Now, I wrote this essay. Now, every essay has an angle that you can approach, you can kind of use. Let me just get that video a little clearer there. Yeah. So for this one here, when you're talking about people to take risks, it would seem an obvious essay to personalize. Why wouldn't you do that? Talk about risks that you may or may not have taken, because if it's too abstract, as we'll see, it doesn't quite work with some of the samples. Sorry, some of the essays which you have written and sent me. It's a little bit vague. Some people taking some risk somewhere might do something, doesn't quite work. So I thought this would work better for me as a personal essay. So, to give a personal example, many years ago I worked in manufacturing. I wasn't kind of happy. I decided to quit, to go to uni, as it would be a better option. Now, it was indeed a risk, as I gave up a guaranteed income for some uncertain future. So this is the risk part. But it turned out fortuitously, that's a good word, as I now have several degrees, self-employed, and I no longer have to work in a shitty job in a factory like I used to do. So, risk, talking about a risk, so why might some people not take risks? They're not kind of happy, but they might not take a risk because afraid of losing something, yeah? But I took it and it turned out well. It could have turned out kind of badly. It was indeed as a risk, guaranteed income, but fortunately it worked. So that's the work one, because it says professional lives and personal, all right? So taking risks on a personal level can also have a beneficial outcome. Staying in the same town or country with the same friends and social group, okay, but is it satisfactory? For example, I left the UK some years ago, have lived in many countries since, which was risky. Why? I could have had social isolation, homesickness, etc. However, I grasped the opportunities, many new friends, otherwise I wouldn't have met. In fact, I'm glad, because I now have an international perspective. I'm not a stereotypical Englishman anymore, because I've been living around the world. In conclusion, in my view, a risk is a necessary part of life, should be embraced to progress in work and personally, because at the start I say potential for personal growth, progress, growth, etc. There might be some disadvantages, yet I believe risk in itself should not be feared, rather we should fear stagnation instead. Okay? So I haven't specifically said the advantages of this outweigh the disadvantage of that. You can do it like that if you're more confident, or if you've got, good writing ability, as I think I do. You don't really need it. It's obvious from how I've written it and structured the sentences to what I think. It's obvious. Okay, so we don't need to do the advantages or disadvantages. You can do it, but you don't really need to, as long as it's clear from what you're saying what your opinion is. Okay, so that's mine. Let's have a look at yours. Okay. Now, I haven't got too much time, so I'll have to be quick. Taking risks in both of them seems right. Imperative is not the same as important. Not the same. Imperative means it must be done, it has to be. Important means it's important, but it's not imperative. I reckon despite it may have, or kind of that it may have, effects on their health and may not work well for needy people, its benefits, such as making them more creative and increasing their functionality, will outweigh the drawbacks in all aspects of their life eventually. This is a lengthy sentence. It's so taking a simple is imperative, I reckon, despite that, or despite the fact that it may have no effects on my health and may not work well for needy people. What does that mean? Needy people. Its benefits, such as making more creative functionality. Okay, well, we have to see. Said for taking risks, for the people evaluated all its aspects first. What? For the people who evaluate all its aspects first, since it will immerse them in a completely new situation, inevitably, that may inevitably result in opening new opportunities for them. So let me see. So this is what I'm talking about. So some people may take some risks that open some opportunities. It's a little bit vague. The more risk they are experience, well, you don't experience risk, you take risk. That's the collocation, not experience. The more pressure on them there will be to use their maximum. What does that mean? What's that? The more experiencing pressure to use their maximum potential to make progress, which means what? The people who invest more than 90% of their finance or capital on the startup will feel more effort and time needs what is needed to study, search and follow their idea. But what's that got to do with the risk? I mean, even if you invest maybe 10% of your capital, you still need to study and research and follow your idea. So I'm not quite sure what that's supposed to be an example of. It can improve people's life or lives fundamentally via making them braver and more creative. Well, braver? Well, maybe to take risks, but what does more creative mean? Furthermore, it can improve people's lives fundamentally. Whenever they go ahead with lots of issues, such as what, which they are struggling, have low affect. Well, that's a verb. So what? Have low effect, or impact? I'm not quite sure what you're saying there. And just by consistency, persistence, I didn't manage to easily overcome it. If I can make, but so right. I'm not really clear what this paragraph means. It's so vague. examiner is going to have a lot of trouble in understanding this, and that's a fact. On the other hand, negative consequences of being in a risky situation or risky situations, in a risky situation or risky situations of individual's health cannot be ignored. This experience may cause at first mental issues for those who take it in both occupational or private. If it progressed, may even result in cardiovascular. What does this have to do with anything? What consequences? Right, so what consequences? What's the situation? What are you talking about? Why may it cause mental issues? Why? What specific issues, what specific situation or context are you saying might actually cause this? So some situation may cause some issues somehow. A little bit vague. In needy families, taking risks will not be wise and explainable. Okay. There will be a low chance for compensation provided. Well, who's going to compensate you? Compensated by whom? If they are not successful. Again, this is very vague. I'm not really sure what this is talking about. There's some ideas here, but it's so vague. It's very hard to get to them, to get to the main ideas. Let me show you the criteria. I had this out a while back, and I'll show you it. I'll just get it open now. This looks like it's going to be a long video. Maybe I'll break it down into one or two different parts. Right, so let's get me comment pencil. Okay. Right, task response, clear, fully developed, position, directly answers the questions. Is that clear? No. Half the time I have no idea what that essay is about. Is it clear? Well, no. Clear. Is there a logic? Right, the message can be followed with ease. Well, it can't. Logical, organic, clear progression. Well, kind of no. So again, lack of focus. Relevant, may lack clarity. Central topic may not always be clear. Okay. Coming down now. Not clear. So that's what happens when it's just a little vague. What's it talking about? Relationships between ideas can be unclear, inadequately marked. So I'll say no more. If you compare it to mine, you can see mine is pretty clear, whereas this one is not. So that's essay number 1. I might have to break this video into 2, or maybe even into a 3, because I've got to go in a minute to a class. So what I'll do, I'll finish this video here. So this is essay number 1, and then in the second video I'll try and finish the other 4. So I'll end this one here, and I'll be along as soon as I can.